December 1941. The snow is falling hard outside the Reich Chancellery in Berlin. Inside, a messenger rushes in, pale, almost stumbling. He hands the Führer the decoded cable. Japan has attacked Pearl Harbor. Roosevelt has asked Congress for a declaration of war against Japan. America is in the general's brace for an explosion. They expect Hitler to smash the desk, scream about Japanese recklessness, curse that the war has now grown too big. Instead, something far stranger happens. Hitler reads the message twice. A smile creeps across his face. Then he starts laughing. Not the nervous laugh of a madman, the genuine, almost boyish laugh of someone who has just been handed the best gift imaginable. He turns to his aides and says it out loud. The war is won. We have already won. 4 days later, on December 11, 1941, he steps to the podium of the Kroll Opera House, the temporary home of the Reichstag. The hall is packed. Cameras roll. Every word will be broadcast across Germany and the world. Most people expect a furious rant against Roosevelt and the Jews who supposedly control him. They get something much more chilling, confidence so absolute it feels unhinged. He does not hide his joy. He thanks Providence for giving him the privilege of leading Germany at this historic moment. America's entry, he says, is the final piece falling into place. Then he lays out, calmly, almost casually, 3 great truths about the United States that will decide the war. 3 predictions. 1 is pure fantasy. 1 is terrifyingly sharp. 1 is the mistake that will follow Germany into the grave. First, the fantasy. Hitler believes America cannot become a military nation. Not truly. Not in time. He has studied their army. Fewer than 400,000 men under arms in 1941, barely trained, scattered across a continent, behind Portugal, behind Romania, behind everyone who matters. Their officer corps is tiny, their equipment obsolete. Most damning of all, in his eyes, is the American character itself. A nation of shopkeepers, gangsters, and jazz musicians. A racial stew of whites, blacks, Jews, Italians, Irish, Poles, all hating each other more than they hate Germany. Democracies, he says, are loud in peacetime and silent in war. They argue, they vote, they compromise. They do not bleed with one heart. He tells his generals privately, give it 4, maybe 5 years before America can even dream of landing a serious army in Europe. By then, the Soviet Union will be a corpse. Britain starved into submission, and the continent will belong to the Reich forever. America will arrive too late to do anything except bow. He is so sure of this that he laughs again when he says it. Second, the insight that almost worked. Even if America somehow wakes up, Hitler says, they still have to cross 3,000 miles of ocean that Germany already owns at night. Every shell, every drop of aviation fuel, every boot and bullet must survive the U-boat packs. Donitz has more than 200 submarines at sea right now, and more sliding down the ways every month. In early 1942, they will be joined by the new Type 9 and Type 14 milk cow boats that can stay on station for months. Hitler predicts the tonnage war will be decided in 1942-43, if the U-boats can sink. Ships faster than the Americans can build them. Britain collapses first. Then any American attempt to stage in the British Isles becomes impossible. No landing craft, no air cover, no second front. Russia fights alone and dies alone. He is not guessing. The numbers already look terrifying. In the last 6 months of 1941, the U-boats have sunk more than 2 million tons. The British are rationing to 7 ounces of meat a week. 1 more year of this, maybe 2, and the island starves. America will be left with a giant army it cannot move, a navy it cannot supply, and a president screaming at an ocean full of wrecks. For a few months in 1942, it looks like he is right. The Americans call it the happy time with bitter sarcasm. U-boats hunt in packs off Cape Hatteras, torpedoing tankers in sight of Florida beach hotels. Lights still burn in American cities. Silhouettes perfect. In March 1942 alone, 85 ships go down. The Atlantic becomes a shooting gallery. And then comes the third prediction, the one that kills Germany slowly and with perfect politeness. Hitler looks at Detroit and sees only consumer toys. He reads that Ford builds civilian cars on endless assembly lines and concludes those lines cannot be turned to war because war demands precision. Craftsmanship, the German way. Tanks are not Model Ts, aircraft are not refrigerators. A nation addicted to profit and comfort will never accept the sacrifices needed to outproduce the Reich. He tells Albert Speer in 1942, even if they wanted to, they could not do it. Their factories are too specialized, their workers too spoiled, their unions too powerful. We will always build more and build better. Speer, who already suspects the opposite, stays silent. What happens next is the greatest industrial explosion in human history. In 18 months, the United States increases aircraft production tenfold. By 1944, one B-24 bomber rolls off the Willow Run line every 63 minutes, day and night. The Kaiser shipyards launch a new Liberty ship every 10 days at first, then every day, then several a day. A completed freighter slides into the water before its predecessor has even left the ways. American women flood the factories. Rosie the Riveter is not propaganda. She is millions of real women working double shifts. Black Americans leave the South in the Second Great Migration and pour into defense plants. Immigrants who still speak broken English weld hull plates side by side with fourth-generation Yankees. The unions do not slow production, they speed it. Overtime is voluntary and endless. The numbers become surreal. In 1944, the United States builds 96,000 aircraft. Germany builds 40,000, and half of those never fly because there is no fuel. America produces 26,000 tanks and self-propelled guns. Germany produces 19,000 for the entire war. Every month, the gap widens. American shipyards alone have more steel going into keels than the entire German economy can allocate to everything combined. And the killer detail Hitler never grasps. Most of this avalanche does not even stay in American hands. Lend-Lease turns into a fire hose. 400,000 trucks roll off the lines in Michigan and Illinois and drive straight onto trains headed for Soviet ports. Studebaker, US-6 trucks become the backbone of the Red Army's logistics. Without them, there is no Stalingrad counteroffensive, no Kursk, no drive to Berlin. Spam from Chicago feeds Russian soldiers who have never seen the United States on a map. P-39 Airacobras built in Buffalo shoot down. Luftwaffe aces over Kuban. By 1943, the Wehrmacht is fighting with captured French tanks and Czech guns because new Wehrmacht's production cannot replace losses. Meanwhile, every American division lands in Europe with brand new equipment and a mountain of spares behind it. The soldiers joke that they never see the same truck twice. Hitler refuses to believe the reports at first. When Speer finally shows him the real numbers in early 1944, the Führer stares at the page for a long time, then mutters that the figures must be Jewish propaganda. He orders the Luftwaffe to bomb the American factories. The Luftwaffe no longer has the range. On June 6, 1944, the Allies land in Normandy with 160,000 men on the first day, 7,000 ships, 11,000 aircraft. The Atlantic Wall, built with years of slave labor, collapses in hours. Panzer divisions counterattack with 50 tanks because that is all the fuel allows. Overhead, 1,000 Allied fighters hunt anything that moves. That night in the Wolf's Lair, Hitler still talks about wonder weapons. The Me-262 jet, the V-3 cannon, the Type 21 submarine that will arrive any day now and turn everything around. His generals stop arguing. They know the war is no longer about winning. It is about how many more months Berlin can burn. In the end, even the U-boat war collapses. American shipyards are launching hulls faster than Dunnets can train crews. Escort carriers, destroyer escorts, hedgehog mortars, centimetric radar, and code-breaking turn the Atlantic from hunting ground to graveyard. The happy time becomes the bitter time. U-boat ace after ace disappears beneath the waves. By April 1945, the Reich is a ruin. Soviet T-34s, riding on American gasoline in American trucks, roll through the suburbs of Berlin. American B-17s and Lancasters have turned whole cities into moonscapes. The wonder weapons never arrive in useful numbers. The jet fighters run out of pilots and fuel. The super submarines reach the Atlantic just as the war ends. On April 30th, Adolf Hitler puts a pistol to his head in a damp bunker 30 feet under the Chancellery Garden. Outside, the Red Army is 8 blocks away. He dies, still believing that history had cheated him, that if only the Japanese had waited, if only Roosevelt had stayed neutral a little longer, if only the Americans had remained the soft, divided, money-obsessed nation he imagined in December 1941, the 1,000-year Reich would have dawned. He never understood what actually beat him. It was not Roosevelt's speeches or Jewish conspiracies or British stubbornness. It was millions of ordinary people on the other side of the world, people he despised, deciding that freedom was worth any price and then proving they could pay it faster, harder, and longer than any dictatorship on earth. 3 predictions. 1 laughable, 1 almost fatal, 1 catastrophic. The laughable one bought America at the time it needed. The almost fatal one forced America to invent convoy systems and radar and the greatest merchant fleet ever seen. The catastrophic one taught the world, forever, what happens when a closed mind meets an open society in total war. That is the real story of December 11, 1941. The day a dictator smiled at the news that his worst nightmare had woken up, and 4 years later, that nightmare buried him under the rubble of his capital. Never underestimate a free people with a continent behind them and a cause in front of them. Germany learned that the hard way. The world never forgot.